we continue with the teenagers that need to get punished. But I honestly think more so their parents. The fact that most of these teenagers are, I guess, technically under the responsibility of a custodian. under a guardian, a legal person who has custody of them. Their parents, obviously, but it just feels kind of like we're blaming the kids when we don't realize that it's a cycle. It's a problem that tends to go back generations. What I mean by that is the blind leading the blind. When you have these immature children who eventually become immature adults, who eventually and very sadly become immature parents, who eventually raise immature children, who then again eventually become immature adults, immature parents, who eventually have their own children, and so on and so forth. So it's very hard to determine when it is this starts. But I will say one thing, because there has to be a way of bringing this to light. I am very thankful, and I haven't had this opportunity to say this. Both parents have passed away, and, long ago. Can't really do much about that. You can't control certain things. But I will say one thing. They didn't do as bad a job as I thought in raising me. Now, I do have a lot to put in there, because a lot of it was me and using my own logic, my own limited level of intelligence, if I can say that for a second. But I actually understand that you don't go out into the world whining, bitching, moaning, and complaining, thinking that somehow you're going to get your own way, because that's how it is with mommy and daddy. Whenever me and mommy and daddy get together, when I act up, I get my way. Otherwise, I just cry and cry and cry and scream until eventually I get my way. That's what these kids are. Look, there's no sugarcoating it. I don't know if I finished the story with the three girls, but the three girls that were trick-or-treating, yeah, I probably should have continued that video yesterday. Even though it was only for 15 minutes, I should have just kept going and then just cut it into two parts. I decided to stop. And I came back today and I'm like, oh man, I don't remember. So I just played the last 30 seconds. All I remember saying is a huge melee. Can I really talk for 15 minutes? Oh, we'll talk tomorrow about blaming the parents. And that light bulb, that's right, it's the parents. But these three girls, they get, all wild and rowdy, and, the cop. You have to understand the dynamic between these young teenagers and the police officers. The police officers are never going to be younger than the teenagers. It's impossible. To be legally a police officer that carries a firearm, you have to be at least 21 years old. So for the most part, these teenagers are always going to be confronted by some sort of authority that's older than them. And how do they react to older authorities? How you see in the videos. Whining, complaining, screaming, yelling. Get off me, bro. You can't touch me, bro. You can't talk to me, bro. That's what I was seeing today. Today I was watching a teenager that apparently killed his teenage girlfriend. This is a little bit older. I believe she was 19, and I don't think I got his age, but I'm assuming 18, 19, 20, around that age. He shoots her. I believe the video said he shot her 8 times. He explained that somebody shot his girlfriend 8 times, but it wasn't him. It was somebody else. He just doesn't know who, and he called the police. Not exactly the brightest bulb in the attic, but you tend to see where these kids come from. You tend to see how it is they're brought up. They do things they're not supposed to do. They lie about it. Their parents might know better and might know that they're lying, but just to avoid the whole situation, they believe them and they move on. And these kids get this weird notion of, well, I can get away with anything. I mean, parents don't even realize I'm lying. Not knowing that in reality the parents know they're lying, they just don't care enough to even try to figure it out. It's like, whatever. I know you're lying. I don't really want to deal with you right now. I'm tired from all the work that I have to do in order to put food on the plate. It's just such a bad cycle. And the worst part about it, I saw like 4 videos today. I'm starting to watch a lot of these videos now. A bunch of youngers, man, like teens, 20s, very early 30s, like just very, very kiddish, like the attitudes. There was this one girl who decided to call, I guess complaining that her roommate was hitting her. But when the cops show up, they see her hitting the roommate instead of the other way around. And she says she was defending herself. Then she says she wants to get the roommate out because the roommate doesn't live there. even though it's a roommate. So it becomes a weird back and forth. The only thing I remember from that video is this is a woman who claims, she says, it must be true, she's a mother of two little girls, two daughters, right? Or I think it's one little girl. I'm getting the two daughters confused with yesterday's kid. But she's a mother of a little girl, right? And the entire video, bro, this whining and screeching at the end of every sentence. That's all I got out of that video. I'm like, there's no way that this woman is a mother. There's no way that this woman takes care of another human life. There's no way that this mother is teaching that human life how to act and how to react in society when all she could do is bro, that whining and squealing at the end of every sentence. Why are you letting my roommate stay? That's not her house. Why are you arresting me? Why do you think I'm lying? Why do you believe her? Why? And it's just that constant whining, and all I see is a 12-year-old little girl wanting to get her way, and her parents eventually bending to her will, allowing her to, run. I don't know what type of relationship she has with her parents, but I do know that the constant whining and complaining would usually allow her to get her way. Problem is, you're dealing with police officers that A, are not related to you, B, are definitely not the same race as you, because all these videos, for some weird reason, it's never black on black, it's never white on white, it's never Hispanic on Hispanic. They are around, but the majority of the time, it's the white cop and the white cop's camera with the African American or the Hispanic. I don't see many criminals, quote unquote, being white. So I don't know if these videos are a little biased towards this type of footage, because it's just more entertaining to see a Hispanic or an African American getting what they deserve, or if they're simply avoiding putting the white guys. I personally, I told you yesterday, I have videos of a white man. This is way before George Floyd, way before. This is why I regret not doing this, man, and I should have put those videos up, man, way before George Floyd getting his face put into a bunch of grass. A white man, tall white man with tattoos, blonde hair, like blonde kind of, not Krusty the Clown, but Sideshow Bob type of hair, like a big fro, I guess you could say, but not really, just really big bushy blonde hair, getting his face shoved into the grass, having a police officer put his knee on top of the back of his neck, and not allowing him to breathe. Now, he never explained, I can't breathe. He just simply stopped moving. Until eventually they realize, whoa, this guy is not breathing. It must be some drugs. Bro, they actually say it in the video. They actually say, oh, he must be on some drugs or something. That's why he's not breathing. It's like, no, man. It's because you had your knee on top of his head, and his head was in the middle of the grass. Plus, the grass was wet, I guess, so it made it kind of moist, so his head was really dipped in there. Crazy stuff. That was way before George Floyd and the whole I can't breathe thing. So I'm telling you, man, I missed out on uploading those videos. But again, YouTube didn't allow me. Now apparently they do. And maybe the George Floyd thing was what changed it. Maybe they created some new policy. They said, yeah, we got to show these cops. But I'm not sure why it's always a white cop. Sometimes there are African American cops and female cops. But these cops then tend to be very overly aggressive. Like, they do things a little bit more aggressive than the white cops. It's almost like the white cops are being shown to be... I'm going way off topic, aren't I? Anyways, this girl is a mother, whining and complaining, going to jail. Another dude decides to beat up his girlfriend because apparently she caught him cheating on her, but he didn't want to lose her because, the other girl was a side hustle. It was just a quick bang. It wasn't a real love. He really loves her. The girl that he really loves is the mother of his two daughters, and she's pregnant with another kid. I'm telling you, man, you look at these waste of space human beings, and it's just so hard to understand how it is that A, they become parents, B, they actually are able to raise children, which, the government helps out a lot in that case. Wink, wink. And then C, why do they continue to have more kids, dude? I can understand one. Everybody makes a mistake. Two people get together. They think they're in love. They, have intercourse. For some reason, they decide not to use protection because I guess they really love each other, or they're just too poor to spend 99 cents on a condom. I've checked, they're actually 99 cents. That's one of the things that still hasn't gone up in price. Everything gets inflated. Inflated, there it is. Except condoms. Condoms are still 99 cents. You have to buy the big box. You have to buy the big, extra, 30 days and whatnot. Not just one single condom. Those are kind of expensive, but individually, compared to, buying in box, I've actually seen them close to 50 cents. And there were these weird condoms that had, again, jumping off topic, sorry. 3 kids, come on, woman. Come on, woman. You can't even handle this one guy who's cheating on you, and you're pregnant with another kid with him? Like, what are you doing? Why? Why are you bringing more humans into this world to be raised in an extremely incompetent way compared to the way you were raised, only to what? To get some money from the government? So you could get some easy cash to take care of your kids, which guess what? You're not using to take care of your kids. You're using to help pay for the bills, help pay for your alcohol, your drugs. Like, these kids are growing up very impoverished, very poor, for those of you that don't understand certain words. And then, making it seem like, oh, this is the way my parents brought me up, so this is how I'll bring them up. And guess what? Then those kids will bring up new kids, and the world starts to get flooded with individuals that are physically mature, because they do get older physically, but mentally and emotionally, they're very retarded. Can I even use that word? Because that word has become very taboo, man. That word has become very, you can't say that you're hurting feelings. I'm like, yeah, but I'm using it, the correct way, not the biblical way. I don't believe the Bible says that word. Or I think it does. It says that and ass, right? Ass is another word that's said in the Bible a lot. Thank you, angry video game nerd. Yeah, AVGN. Remember that guy? Cinemassacre? Whatever, man. I just tend to feel that somehow these parents have to be held more accountable. Now, I'm not saying we're gonna go genocide, Native American style, and inject them with some sort of weird virus that doesn't allow them to procreate and have new children. And the children that they do have are very, sick, and and just, oh man, the things they did to those natives. Again, I don't know if it's true, wasn't there. I can't tell you. But from what I've read, and the fact that their population is very small compared to the rest of the world, it seems like maybe it was true. Humans are very nasty in that way, and when they see something that's bigger, better, stronger, and maybe in some ways even smarter than them, they decide to get rid of it, and they get rid of all future generations. And I feel really sad for natives. I would like to meet a native woman one day, just to be able to communicate with her and see what it's like to speak to someone that's actually a native of this country. I don't think it'll ever happen, because I have no idea where to find them, but I'm sure they're out there somewhere. How do they still do that? And they put their hand up. Wow. Racism 101. What can I tell you? What? 13 minutes? That's insane. Bro, this is a really hot topic, dude. For me, it's just, look, I'm not telling you how you raise your kids. I'm not telling you you're a bad parent. I'm not telling you you're a bad kid. All I'm saying is you have to think before you make these decisions. These decisions. I don't know what's wrong with me there. These decisions that you make to bring new life into this world, I've always said this. I'm a big proponent of the notion that the moment you are able to take care of yourself without depending on anyone else, partner, parent, or government, literally, you can have your job, pay your bills, buy your food, eat your food, do everything on your own without the assistance of anyone else. That's when you can start realizing, man, you know what? I'm responsible enough to bring another life, because once I can take care of myself, I think I have the ability of taking care of something or someone else. That's when you get a partner. That's when you two procreate. Hopefully you procreate, because male and male, female and female, you can't really do that, but somehow you still get together. Whatever. Adopt. I don't really care. The fact is, if you're going to take over and be responsible, that's a good word, be responsible for another life, please first be able to take care of yourself. Because all these children, all these teenagers, all these, I can't even say would-be parents, because they are parents, all these just mentally immature children that are somehow parents to other children, man, they're just leading us down a very bad path. And sooner or later, the world will be overrun and overpopulated with these individuals. I see it on a daily basis, man. I see it with the video game tournaments. I see it with the social media icons. Bro, we have social media icons. People more famous than the Pope because they have a very huge TikTok following. I'm sorry, man, but things are just not going the way they're supposed to. And eventually it will get fixed. Stay tuned for part 3. Nah, I don't know, man. Have a good one, guys.